Canada is officially in election mode after Liberal leader Mark Carney triggered the 45th general election Sunday with a visit to Rideau Hall to ask Governor General Mary Simon to dissolve Parliament. To share his thoughts is John Buchan with Tree 3 Consulting in Barrie, Ontario. John, welcome to Bridge City News.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
So, John, many people believe the main election issue will be about those who can best stand up to Donald Trump amidst the tariff war. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the tariff war so far is more about posturing than actual harm. I think Trump's used it well as a negotiating tactic. The reality is, if fully implemented, it would be very damaging to his economy and his markets. So I think he's using it as a good tactic to apply pressure for what he's going to see as a better trade deal. I think the reality is we need to grow our economy. So our biggest problems are actually GDP per capita, slow growth, productivity, wages, housing. So I think that these are the main issues of the election, but I do understand that in the media, in the mainstream media, and in a lot of the minds of Canadians, tariffs are the number one thing. But again, I think that the best way to stand up to Trump is by growing our economy and making it as strong as possible. So then when we do have threats, we're not so panicked, because in the last 10 years, we've been very, very stagnant.
Affordability and climate change are also factors in this election. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has long promised to axe the carbon tax, but now Mark Carney has also dumped the consumer carbon tax. Do you think voters will trust Carney to put the economy ahead of climate change?
Voters often appeal to authority and place a lot of trust in their leaders when they perceive it to be a time of crisis. So yes, I do think that they trust him to eliminate the carbon tax and maybe on the consumer part and put the economy ahead of climate change. What can they expect? That's a different question. I think that we can probably expect him to go back to basically his MO, which was ESG and climate initiatives. I think that he might try to hide that on the back end. So I think, like I said, the voters probably do trust him, because, as I said, they're panicked right now because of the situation that they feel that they're in. So they've put their trust in him. Whether or not he delivers on that and how he actually implements everything is sort of the $1 million question if he does get elected. I think over the last 10 years, he's been very clear. He thinks carbon pricing is important, and he's very big on ESG initiatives. I can't see him flip-flopping on that. And if he does, then Canadians have to ask themselves, how much can they trust him? Because if he's going to say for 10 years that he believes in carbon pricing and ESG, and then on a dime flips for an election, how can we, judge him to basically hold the line on future promises or future opinions?
What would you say about people who are hesitant to support Mark Carney because he only zeroed out or reduced the carbon tax to zero for now, which means it's not fully gone yet?
Yep.
Some are concerned that once he's elected, then he will just restore it back to where it was before.
Yeah, he's going to restore it either back to what it was before, or he will tell people that it's no longer included in the sale of goods, but it's been put back to the corporations. But again, we know how that works. They'll just end up pushing the buck back to the consumer. So he mentioned a couple weeks ago that he thinks that we need it in order to deal with different countries. So for him, he thinks that climate policy is basically the way of the world. So I think I can't imagine him after, like I said, if anybody's read his book or if you've actually followed him for 10 years, he's bullish on this kind of stuff. He really believes in climate initiatives. So I think, like I said, you can maybe believe, and politicians are very good at sort of during an election telling certain parts of their platform and then maybe changing them at the end. That's kind of been par for the course forever. But I think that anybody that's kind of leery on Mark Carney should be, because again, everything he said up till now has indicated that he's big on carbon taxing. So I can't imagine why he would drop all that long term. I just don't see it.
And what do you think Carney and Poilievre will try to do to win some seats in Quebec?
Quebec's a tough cookie because I think they're arguably the most anti-American province, and I think that they're using this opportunity to galvanize around the Liberals, which is also a familiar stronghold for them. So right now, I think it's tough for the Conservatives. I think Carney skipping the French language debate will move the needle in the bars and the diners of rural Quebec. I don't know how much it'll actually impact voting based on the demographics of the province and the ridings. Most of it's coming from Montreal. A lot of Liberal support. For Carney, I think he needs to avoid any negative press and just continue his message against Trump, which is doing well. For Mr. Polyev, I think that he needs to focus on rural ridings and show them that he has more solutions than Carney. As we mentioned, Quebec, BC, coast to coast, Atlantic, West Coast, the problems are productivity, slow growth, wages, and housing. And I think if Polyev can get that message out there in the rural areas, he might be able to take some away from the bloc. But Quebec's in a tough one right now for the Conservatives, and it seems to be pretty strong for the Liberals. And I'm not sure what can change that.
That was John Buchan with Tree 3 Consulting. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.